Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and thank you for sticking with me through the last couple years I've been here on BookTube. I know the last year I have not been on as much. There were a few months that I was completely gone, and after that I didn't have my consistent schedule like I was able to keep the first year and a half. So I want to thank you for sticking around. It is so kind of you, and I love being book friends with you guys and getting to talk all things books. So let's just get into these questions that some people asked me, and I will definitely link who it was in my description box that asked the questions so you can check out their channels. I only had other booktubers ask me questions, so I love and respect all the channels that they have. So let's get going. The first questions asked were read by Fred, and he asks, what is your favorite meal and what is your family's favorite meal? Okay, so I'm going to answer a family first. The favorite thing that I cook, out of all the things I make, I love to cook. The thing they seem to love the most is my homemade chicken noodle soup. And I've had to alter it a little bit. I've had to start using more like protein pasta instead of egg noodles, but just the simplicity of cooking some vegetables and adding broth and chicken, and like anyone can make this meal. And that is their favorite thing that they request over and over again. I even sometimes make it in the summer because they like it so much. So, I mean, a win for me, easy for me to make. And it's also very economical meal to make as well. You don't have to put that much meat in it, lots of broth, which is cheap. You've got some spices, some veggies that don't cost, onions and carrots and celery do not cost a lot. And pasta, I mean, it just works very well for us. So I love that they love such a simple meal. And then my favorite meal, Fred, I read this question on a day where I am missing food that I used to eat when we lived in California. So I was literally thinking about this, but maybe these are restaurants that I have been missing. If you're planning a trip to California, maybe this will help you out, because two of them are right by the really touristy part of by the Hollywood Hills, Universal City, by Universal Studios. And so the first one I've been craving lately, the chicken Madeira from Maselli's, which is right across the street from Universal Studios. And it is delicious, and their rolls are so soft. And it's not a food I would usually make at home because I don't usually have any white wine on hand. So the last time I ate that meal with those soft rolls was I was pregnant with my son that just turned 12. So I was barely pregnant. So almost 13 years ago is the last time I had that meal. We moved away from California back to Oklahoma when he was 5 months old. And then another one, which is just down the street, kind of at the corner of Cahuenga and Barham, if you're visiting the LA area. And it was the California Canteen. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, it was one of the only meals I could have and not, feel really sick afterwards. I was sick for most of my pregnancy with her. And it is like this chicken pesto pasta. I'm into pasta. But also my husband would split that meal, and we'd also split a bowl of the French onion soup. And why out of all the things in the world, you'd think onions, with a very seasoned onion soup, would not be good when you're pregnant, but for some reason that was it. And then they had the melty cheese on top of that. But also I've been craving from California. There's a burger. It's kind of like a burger chain called The Habit, and they have other meals there too. I like their club chicken sandwiches, but they have a teriyaki burger that is excellent, and the best onion rings I've ever had. And I've been thinking about those three things that I can't get here in Oklahoma. a lot lately. So I'm going to say those are my favorite meals right now. A little bit longer than, I thought I was going to take to answer that question. All right. Vidania Silver Scribe asks, if you could live in any fantasy land, which one would that be? I would live in Narnia, not in wartime. After the Wicked Queen was defeated by Aslan. So we're not in a war, nothing like that's going on. I'd want to live in Narnia. I love that world. I just, and to interact with Aslan, I'd love that so much. And the next question is from Caitlin at Pride and Paperback. She has such a good channel, you guys. Go check her out. She did a recent video where she just kind of tells her faith story. She went through like something really, really hard, and just how she's overcoming through the help of God and just faith is amazing. So she asked, what's my favorite series? My favorite series is the Infernal Devices series, and this is by Cassandra Clare. And it is kind of a prequel to the Mortal Instruments. And I am not a love triangle fan. And this love triangle I love so much in this series. I love the magical system. I love the characters. It is my favorite trilogy. And I definitely recommend it if you haven't already read it and you do like, fantasy. It's a YA fantasy. Like the Mortal Instruments was pretty young. And there were some things that are like, oh, wow, you're going to go there, Cassandra Clare? And that, but I feel differently about the Infernal Devices series. I just like, and it's got the best epilogue ever after the third book. And then how do you decide, Caitlin also asked, how do you decide what to pick up next? So I have different categories I'm usually reading in at the same time. So right now, a lot of the classics I'm reading with friends. I always have a classic going on. And so if like I'm reading with my friend Courtney reads, a lot of times, we have different things we want to try. And she's big on Russian literature and I'm just getting started in that. So we'll discuss. So, and then a lot of times there's ones that I haven't read yet that I know that certain of my BookTube friends have and might want to read again. And so like next month, Dia and I are going to be reading an Elizabeth Gaskell. And so that's kind of how I go is like, and then what I have not read yet or what I feel I really need to reread. Then I usually have middle grade going and I usually ask, what do my kids need out of this? So like, do we need to do more of a nonfiction? Do they need a little bit more of a knowledge in a certain area? We all love fantasy. A lot of that is just like, what series do we want to get into next? And then as far as just like fantasy right now, a lot of what I have been getting into has been recommendations from you all. And then as far as nonfiction, I usually, it's something I need a little bit more. If it's a Christian like book that's biblical based, what do I need more discipline in? Or what do I not know about? And that's the same with my just more secular nonfiction books. What do I need to learn more about? A lot of times is how I go. Or who am I interested in when I read memoirs? And then what fictional character do you identify with the most? And I usually answer this by saying I identify with all the Little Women. Like I have aspects of me in all of them. Like I identify a little bit with like Amy's selfishness in the beginning and trying to get away from that. I identify with Jo's creativity and her desire to just use that. And then Meg, I put like, being a homemaker and a wife and a mother as high priority, in my life. And then with Beth, I think I identify with her social anxiety a little bit. So that is my answer for that. Great questions, Caitlin. All right. Then Courtney reads, well, I laugh because I said, don't ask any inappropriate questions jokingly. And then she's like, I really wanted to ask you an appropriate question now. Courtney and I talk almost every day. She asks, when do I start dancing? So I My first career when I was an adult, I was a professional contemporary ballet and modern dancer. And I started when I was like 2.5 with creative movement classes. And I took, ballet, jazz, tap. I didn't take tap for very long. It was not my passion, but I wish I had more tap knowledge now. And when I was in 4th grade, my mother switched me over to a school that was associated with a ballet company because she could see how serious I was about it. So that's when my really serious training began. When did I decide to start BookTube, and was there something specific that inspired you to do so? So I did not use YouTube for anything other than an occasional workout video until 2020. And then I had read a kind of actually a book that is like what comes after the Frontal Device series, and nobody that I knew had read it. So I looked online, I just like searched, and then a bunch of YouTube videos came up. Of course, they were really huge booktubers. And I was like, I used to dance, and then I was an actress when we were living in California. And I was like, I would really like to do something, have a creative outlet again. But, it was 2020 at that time, and I didn't want to go away from my family. I didn't start my channel in 2020. I didn't start it in 2021. It took me a while to get up the courage. I started in April 1st, 2022. So I wanted to have that creative outlet and find that community. And then, what is your favorite book adaptation? And that would be the 1980s Anne of Green Gables with Megan Follows. And then, what's your least favorite adaptation? That would be the most recent Persuasion that's on Netflix. I love the BBC Persuasion. I think that's a much harder book to adapt in some ways than some of Jane Austen's others. It would have been a great movie if I would have watched it and didn't know anything about it, but it did not live up to who Anne Elliot is. It made her snarky, and Anne was not snarky at all. I did think it was funny how they portrayed Anne's sister, like the one that's really dramatic. Do you guys hear that noise? That means, actually, if Caitlin watches this, because I tag her because she asked me questions, she'll know what time of day it is exactly, because she's from Oklahoma too. Noon, our tornado sirens go off every week. On Saturday, how did I time this so badly? But yes, that's how they test our tornado sirens, to make sure they're going to be safe when in fact the tornadoes are coming. The only reason they wouldn't go off noon on a Saturday is if there is tornadic weather perhaps coming, because they wouldn't want us to all run down to our storm shelters. Most people have a storm shelter or something like that. Okay, Chris Reviews asks, what is your favorite vacation spot or place to visit? My favorite place that I've ever been in my entire life is a place called Give Kids World Village in Florida. And that's where people stay if their kid has a make-a-wish to someplace like Disney, Universal Studios, or SeaWorld, or someplace like that. It's the most magical, beautiful place in the world. And my son is not terminal at all, but he does have a life-threatening heart condition, and we expect him to have a wonderful life. But he did qualify for Make-A-Wish to go meet Mickey Mouse, and it is one of the best places on the earth. If you ever get a chance to volunteer in Florida or to go to Florida, I would recommend volunteering there. If you want to donate your money to some place where they're really helping children, that is a great place. We loved it even more than Disney World, and we loved Disney World a lot. All right, the Great Julie Library says, happy BookTube birthday. If you were given one magical birthday wish come true, what would you wish for most? I would wish for spiritual, mental, and physical health for everyone that, lived. I just want that. Okay, Bethany Brings Books asks, have you always enjoyed reading? If you could go back in time and spend a day with an author of classic literature, who would it be? And I did talk about, that Persuasion was my least favorite adaptation. I might spend time with Jane Austen when she was writing Persuasion, because that's my favorite Jane Austen. The tornado siren is still going. I'm just going to leave this in. I'm just going to leave you. This is my real life tornado sirens in Oklahoma. I would want to spend time with her while she was writing that and kind of get in, you know, see what her thought process was for that. Do I have any favorite TV shows, period dramas that I would like to share? Okay, so as far as favorite like period dramas, I do like Downton Abbey. I like Poldark, both based like on, you know, different time periods, but I enjoy those. But one of my favorites, and I have not read what this is based on, sadly, because I didn't know at first it was, I like Lark Rise to Cannelford. That is an amazingly clean, just wholesome show, and I definitely recommend that one. All right, she also asked, who is your least favorite classic author? J.D. Salinger, because my least favorite like classic that I have ever read in my entire life is Catcher in the Rye. So I haven't read anything else by him. I don't know what else he's written because I don't ever want to read him again. I'm sorry for those of you that love Catcher in the Rye. If I could travel, I ever traveled to another country? Yes, I've been to London and it was one of the best trips ever. I loved England, and so I'd love to go back. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? I went to Hawaii as a kid. I would love to take my family to Hawaii and have them experience such a beautiful, beautiful place. And that was it. I think I got to all the questions. Thank you so much for being there for me. Thank you for watching, and thank you for reading a lot. Bye-bye. Okay, new day. Whoops, I forgot a question. So Ama Mama Reads asked me if I could be any character in a book, what character I would be. And that is really hard because even the wonderful stories, there is often just such a hard thing that the character goes through. So I wouldn't want my parents to die of cholera, but I was thinking through this, and I just love, you know, beautiful gardens. I've actually been missing the Arboretum in Los Angeles a lot lately. So I would want to be Mary from The Secret Garden if I was a child still. So that is the question she asked, what character book I'd want to read. And now I'm going to tell you to read a lot again. Bye-bye.